It's Tuesday, January 23rd, 2024.
And I'm Jeremy Wright. Welcome to another episode of A Tank Talk. And this is Tank A. This is my 55-gallon Central American gup tank, which is sort of a colony breeding exercise. 2 weeks ago, you may have seen me pull out just an absolute ton of plant matter. I pulled out more than a half pound of Najas guadalupensis guppy grass and shipped it off to Shade Tree Aquatics, to Josh and Kristen Neubauer, who recently took over that store from Roger and Regina Kimes, who founded it. And yeah, so I harvested over a half pound of guppy grass, and there's still so much in here that I honestly need to harvest it again. So I'm kind of getting ready to do that right now. And we're in dim evening lighting, so I'll give you a view of that. There's my T8, my old school T8 glowing up there. Just a regular old fluorescent tube, like it's nothing special. Literally nothing special. Also, the lighting on top of this tank, nothing special. Two 4-foot LED shop lights, a la Amazon. Well, I guess there is one kind of special light. That's this. This is a Philips, I do believe, 2-foot LED tube that's in a T8 fixture. So it glows, it grows, and plants like it. So overall, this is not a plant specific, well, I shouldn't say that. Other than that light up front, looking obnoxious, it's not a plant specific thing. And you can see there are 3 timers. So this is what we call phased lighting. So in Las Mañanas, early days, one of these LEDs kicks on. It's actually this one kicks on first. Through the day a little longer, this one kicks on. Actually, I lied to you. That one kicks on first. Then this one kicks on. Then this one kicks on. Then this one kicks on midday. And it goes like that for a few hours. Then this kicks off. Then this kicks off. Lastly, for the main grow part, this kicks off. And we get the evening glow just of that light up there. And for the time being, I've got the door off of this. So generally, in years past, I ran this with a door, a white door, blocking this so you weren't looking at the lighting. But for our purposes of this part of this video, I'm telling you about phased lighting and how you can use multiple lights on timers to achieve something akin to a 24/7 dawn to dusk effect with the old school stuff. Just stuff that you might have sitting around your utility room or whatever, piled up in your laundry area. Who knows where you got it. But you'd be hard pressed not to find some lighting. And you can go for whatever, $5 a piece or $4 a piece. You can buy some timers, rig that stuff up, and make it such that your lighting starts off kind of dim. It's not like a harsh bing, here's 100% of the lighting, and then a few hours later or 9 hours later, whatever, click, 100% of the lighting goes away and it's just whatever's glowing through from your kitchen. That's not very good for your plants or your fish. Actually, it's pretty stressful. How would you feel if you were woken up every day by a bright light, and then while you were busy doing stuff, all the lights went off and you were just left in the dark? You get frustrated and stressed twice a day, at least twice a day, right? At least twice a day. So don't do that to your fish. Similarly, your shrimp, your plants, your snails, all of the other organisms in your tank get that same stress. Just because your plants can't tell you about it doesn't mean they're not experiencing it. Like they're like, WTF, mate? Question mark. Also. And I don't know what else to say other than that is stressful. Please don't do it to your critters. If you are doing it, there's a quick fix. They're called timers and other lights. So all you got to do is go get you a dim light. Actually, we're gonna pause and I'm gonna go to another room and show you an example of a really dim light. Hang tight for just a second. Pretend like this is pause and magic. Oakley Doakleys. So check this out. See that little light up in there? Yeah. So I'm gonna walk over here and show you what happens in the evening when this stuff clicks off. They're still left with a glow as these lights kick off one at a time. Now I forcefully kicked them off, right? That's not really what happens. So there are lights below this that light the tank below this also, and they click off in phase. But even when all of those lights are clicked off, there's this little light up here, which I robbed out of somebody gave me like a little tank hood with a tiny little light, probably like some kind of little Aquatic or something aquarium that they bought for their kids. And that little lamp was inside of the hood. I robbed that light off out of it, and it's now part of my phased lighting. So this is just a different example, but you can use small little dim lights and make them do like major mileage for you. They're not gonna grow plants. That's not what you want them for. Those are for your fish, for stress. So pausing, now we're going back to the other room. Okay, McSmokey, so we're back and talking about tank A again. So I guess this turned into a video about lighting and phased lighting and how you can use bright and dim lights to your advantage. All you need is timers. And some of these, I mean, granted, my fluorescent tube up there uses more power than necessary. And yeah, you can see how janky my electrical riggedy thing is. But it, you know, it's a functional thing. It's not like we're farming aquatic plants and fish here. We're not necessarily trying to have pretty lighting. You can have pretty lighting at your place. Go ahead and do that. But if for some reason you can't, or you need function over, you know, aesthetic, do what I'm doing. Get multiple lights and have them rigged up on timers and have them kick on. First you want the dim light coming on. Then you want a brighter light. Then step up to your brightest lights. You can run like a magenta-y, purple-y, red plus blue equals magenta grow lamp during the mid part of the day. But don't have it the first thing that kicks on or the last thing that kicks off. It will look like you have a UFO growing out of your living room or whatever. And your neighbors will be like, what are they doing in there? Are they growing drugs? And your fish will think it's weird too. And your family, your roommates, your friends will be like, why is it purple in there? That's not what you want. Use those in the middle of the day when all the other lights are already on. Give it that boost. Then let them kick off first. So you've got normal looking light instead of funky looking light. That funky looking light, or the bright light after pitch black and then pitch black after super bright, is highly stressful. It will mess with things. Animals and plants, even other organisms, fungi and Protists, Monera, Archaea, they have circadian rhythms, and those things they're largely regulated by photo periods. And that's just how life on Earth rocks and does its stuff. So we've talked about the lighting. What's going on with lighting in here? So it's getting blocked out by heavy plant growth. And most people think, and you'll hear the internet parrots squawking the same thing. You need fertilizer, you need this fertilizer and that fertilizer. Well, what you really need to do is do water testing and figure out if there's a deficiency. And after you've learned some of that stuff, maybe you learn it from gardening. Maybe you learn it from your organic gardening hobby. Maybe you learn it from your friends who are in the aquatics hobby and actually know what's up rather than just reading stuff off the internet and thinking it's right. You'll be able to look at things and identify what a plant needs just by glancing at it. And if any of you use Instagram, follow Slow Nickel on Instagram. He will show you pretty much on a daily basis what plants that are deficient in different minerals look like, ranging from asparagus and avocado to other stuff. And he is, I'm pretty sure, a cannabis grower. I'm pretty sure that's where he learned his plant stuff. But I learned a ton of plant stuff just from watching someone who is on a level that's way higher than my own, and I'm trying to share it down. And I've now been doing this for a long time, like doing the planted aquarium thing over a decade here in this spot, like in this spot that you're looking at right here, over a decade. This tank has only been here in its spot for about a year. It was gone. This tank lived at someone else's house for 1 year, but I set it up in that space right above there. That's where this tank was prior to being moved down here. And the tank that was down here, there was a South American tank here, and this tank being North America, Central America, it was up top. So it was like North America up top, South America on the bottom. Haha, 2 4-foot, 55-gallon tanks. It was kind of cool. My former spouse at the time really, really got mad at me when I put the second 55 up top. But yeah, we don't have to worry about that anymore. Kids love it. They love this tank. I asked my daughter not too long ago, she was standing on a step ladder right here, kind of face against the glass, and I said, "Hey darling, do you like this?" And she said, "I like fish." She's barely 2 years old. I'm like, yeah, I love hearing that. So I like fish too. I think you probably do, or you wouldn't be watching this, right? And we like plants because we like fish and we like water. And from that, one of the things I'm trying to impress upon you is if you do water testing and you take a bit of your time and a little bit of your money and you invest in water testing equipment, and you actually take the time to write down your water test results. I don't have my water log here. So I call my journal, my water testing journal, my water log. It's like a log book. Haha, right? Joke, water log. So anyway, my water log book has literally years worth of water test data in it. So first, at the top of each page, it's a spiral notebook, I write the day's date. Then across the top, I write the metrics I'm testing for, each of the water parameters that I'm going to test. And I always start by writing the temperature. It's the easiest thing there, and you learn something from it every time you write it down. Even though you think, well, I don't need to know what the water temperature is. I got a heater in there. I check it from time to time. Write it down. You'll learn why later when you start looking back and comparing the data. The next thing I write is easy stuff. Temp, TDS, pH, GH, KH, total hardness, which is related to GH and TDS and KH and GH, but it's not the same. Alkalinity. I write down the iron content. Even though it's always 0, I write down the nitrate level in ppm. I write down the phosphate level in ppm. I don't generally even test for ammonia or nitrate, and the reason for that is because we're kind of going through what I'm going to call a paradigm shift in the planted aquaria hobby, the freshwater aquatics ecosystem, science and tech, in which people have this thing that they've been talking about for decades that they think is like an integral part of freshwater ecosystems. And that's the nitrogen cycle. But guess what? That is like not even a thing in my aquariums. And you'd be like, well, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Well, guess what? I actually really, really do, and I'm trying to teach you about it. So listen up. In a heavily planted aquarium, such as this freshwater aquarium with plants, phototropic, photosynthesizing organisms, you can break that nitrogen cycle right at the root. And when these animals, these little animals, So they undergo two types of respiration: cellular respiration and organismal respiration, right? For their whole body. Cellular respiration, one of the byproducts just happens to be urea, right? So these organisms respire through their gills into the water urea. Urea gets just a little kick of energy, and it can get it from light. A photon striking a urea molecule is enough energy, gives it enough energy, plus some of the latent energy around it, right? The heat energy. Gives it enough energy to convert that urea over to the next thing. So what's that? Ammonia. Ammonia actually can be directly uptaken by basically all the plants that we test. We used to think that only certain plants could uptake ammonia from the water column. Now we're learning that, seems like most of them, if not all of them, can. And I'm specifically talking about the ones that are water column feeders, but others can as well, like the root feeders, like these grasses down here. They don't have trouble doing that either. So what am I getting at? My tanks run at 0 ammonia, 0 nitrite, and 0 nitrate. Why do they run 0 nitrate? Because there's nothing, we've broken the nitrogen cycle in the best way possible by just giving a ton of plants ammonia that's dissolved into water, and they can directly uptake that. So how do you know? Well, it actually takes plants less energy to uptake nitrogen in the form of ammonia than it takes them to uptake nitrogen in the form of nitrate. Okay? Getting that? It's easier for the plants to break the nitrogen cycle. And when that happens, now that doesn't mean that there's no nitrifying bacteria, plural, like bacteria. There are nitrifying organisms in here, but that's not really where all of the nitrogen's going. Most of it's going to this, like, can you see the plant matter in here? Yeah, check, easy, right? No problem. Can you see the nitrifying bacteria in here? No. Okay, if we were to make a ratio of the biomass of nitrifying bacteria to the ratio to the biomass of plant matter that uses ammonia, like, it's going to be a staggering difference, right? Like, yeah, we can probably weigh the nitrifying bacteria, but I don't think we're going to get a gram out of it. And you heard me earlier in this video say I pulled a ½ pound of guppy grass out of this tank just a couple of weeks ago and sold it off to my friends in their local fish store. And it's like ready to harvest again. There's so much in here, it's blocking the light. It's blocking the light. We can't see what's in here because there's so much plant matter. It's time to harvest again. So, do the plants need nitrate? Heck no. Not if they've got ammonia. And how much ammonia do they need? Just the tiny bit that's being converted from urea, and they use it up almost immediately as it's introduced into the tank. And what's really going on? This is aquaponic method of natural planted aquarium freshwater ecosystem maintenance. So all of the fertilizer that's introduced into this tank, with the exception of a little bit of chelated or chelated iron, every once in a while, and I don't do it very often, I just every once in a while substitute a little bit in. And I try not to put too much because I don't want to, poison the fish. Have you ever tasted water with a bunch of iron in it? Like, it doesn't taste very good. So you go real small, real small, and do it very infrequently. But that's kind of what happens with that. So this video is running a little long. We're almost at the 20-minute mark, so I'm going to cut it here. But we talked about lighting, and we talked about that thing that everybody wants to talk about, but they don't really realize you can break and make everything than a nitrogen cycle tank. So having said that, love you guys. Thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for liking. Thanks to those who drop comments in the bottom. If you want, you can watch over 500 other videos on my channel of this sort of thing. Plants, ecosystem stuff, organic stuff, aquaponic method, growing stuff the natural way on the cheap without spending all of your hard-earned dollars on the stuff you love. You can do it and just take some lessons from nature and how nature does it, not lessons from how people did things 100 years ago when they really didn't know how stuff worked. They wanted to, but they didn't really know how stuff worked. And we killed a lot of fish and plants trying to figure it out. Trust me, I was there for most of it. Now wait, I was only there since like the early 80s, but you know, still, I've been doing this since I was little. And so I'll tell you one last thing. My mother's parents had Japanese gardens and koi ponds with streams and waterfalls connecting different koi ponds around there, and it was a beautiful, big, lush area with Japanese maples and bamboo and all kinds of stuff growing around. My father's parents had tropical aquariums, plural. My parents, when I was little bitty, had aquariums kind of like this. And we've been doing it the nature way for a long time. But in the midst of some of that stuff, growing up, yeah, I grew up around aquariums with pink and purple gravel too, and teal colored gravel, just like other people did, and struggled. And then we found easy mode, thanks to the fabulous Diana Wallstatt and Father Fish, who took that another step, in the right direction, and then bonked some sense into me 5 years ago. It was like, nah, you're doing it wrong. Get rid of that CO2. Your soil down under your sand is going to make CO2 anyway. And I told you just a little bit ago that there used to be a South American tank here where this one was, and the North American tank was up above it in that zone. So in the it was this one. So this tank was above it, and I had a CO2 drop count. I actually found it the other day when I was digging through stuff. So I had a CO2 drop counter like this, a drop indicator is what I meant to say. Now, I don't run these anymore because years ago I figured out what I was doing and I don't need to. But I was running one in a natural substrate tank with pool filter sand cap. It was this tank, literally, it was in this tank. And I wasn't so sure how long the soil would be breaking down the organic matter and converting that to CO2. I didn't know how long I was going to have an appropriate CO2 level. So I kept refilling that drop counter, which I had running like in this area of the tank. And this is going back 2-3 years ago. No, 3 or 4 years ago. 2020 or 2021. And it's 2024 now. So I was running this thing for like 6 months, refilling the indicator solution, checking it, and the tank ran that perfect olive green color, not on the blue end, not on the yellow side. It ran that olive green color the whole time I cared to check, because the soil in a natural tank, as it breaks down organic waste, produces CO2. The fish do also, but it was that breakdown of waste under the substrate that allowed it to really jam. So you don't need CO2, you don't need a high-tech tank to have high-tech results. You need to take a lesson from nature. I'm gonna cut there. Love you guys. If you enjoyed this, give me a like or subscribe. I'll catch you in the comments.